Journey Home, Chapter 13. At the crest of the ridge, Pax looked down over the fire a quarter-mile below. Flames sizzled along the edges of a blackened oval at the valley's basin. The fire consumed the grasses with a soft hissing, not the crackling roar of a monster on the loose, but its smoke was choking. After a moment, Pax heard a man shout and another's reply. He had not scented the humans through the smoke, but he was not surprised they were there. Humans were often involved with fire. Pax winced and drew closer, till he could make out 2 men, and then 2 more at the far edge of the blaze. And he was relieved. For all of its power, fire served humans, and humans could stop it at will. He had often watched his own boy kill fire by drowning it in a stream of water. The humans would stop the fire soon. They always did. If they sent it up the hill, he would leave along the ridge to seek out the river, where he knew the fire could not follow. But now he would rest and eat. He made his way back up the hill where the air was clearer. He clawed the bark from a fallen pine tree and made a meal of grubs. Then he took cover in the tree's boughs, still dense with browning needles, backing in until only his face protruded. He would rest there until the fire was out, then continue south again. Pax rested without sleeping until mid-afternoon. When he looked out, he saw that the humans had moved along the west, their fire moving with them. Directly below him, now he only saw flickering sparks on the scorched ground. Belly low, he crept down the slope. As he moved onto the blackened fringe, the ground grew warmer. Here and there, woody shrubs still glowed. The air smelt of burnt grasses and seared dirt. There was the scent of roasted flesh also, and he came upon many burnt mice. He ignored those, but when he found a clutch of partridge eggs in a hollow that the fire had barely singed, he ate them. The insides were warm and surprisingly solid, not wet. He ventured farther towards the center of the basin. The ground there was hotter. A dried seed pod exploded with a pop just in front of him, and Pax jumped. Darting away, he burned a back paw on a smoldering branch. Pax hurried back up the slope, hid himself behind the pitch pine trunk, and licked the paw. He curled his brush around his snout to keep out the smoke and closed his eyes. He would try to cross again in the cool of dusk. This time, before starting out, he climbed to the spine of the ridge to scan for any danger that might have followed him. He expected none. When he traveled through the night before, he'd found no sign of predators at all. Not until his paw healed, he would not be as quick as usual. He would have to become more cautious. The air on his back side of the ridge was clear. The low sun's light fell up upon the birches on the far slope like slanting rain, drenching their canopies, falling down the branches and dripping from the bright leaves. A cloud of pale blue butterflies rose and fell like breath. For several moments, Pax saw nothing that alarmed him. He licked his injured paw again and was about to leave when he caught a slight trembling in the shrubs below the birches. He stilled. He followed the movement down into the meadow. He could see nothing but the path of the ruffled grasses, so the intruder was too small to be a threat. A rabbit, perhaps, more careless than usual, or a clumsy skunk out for its evening hunt. At a bare patch of gravel that Pax himself had passed, the creature emerged, and Pax sprang up, charged with sudden fear and joy in equal measure. He bounded down the hill at a full run, skimmed the creek at the bottom, and reached his daughter, panting. As he drew up, the kit stopped. She sat down and lifted her head, as though expecting to be greeted. "You left us." Pax checked the tiny fox all over. She was dusty and her heart was beating fast, but she was unharmed. He rose to his full height, pricked his ears forward, and straightened his tail. "You should not have followed me." He reminded her that she had been ordered to stay behind, to obey her mother. The kit flattened herself in front of her father. "You went far." She laid her chin on his paw. Pax warned her of the dangers a small young fox traveled alone could encounter, but which were many. He admonished her for disobedience. Throughout his chastening, the kit remained obediently still. At last, Pax crouched low so that she would know she was forgiven. Her eyes were closed, and when he licked her cheek, she let out a snore and rolled over. Pax picked up his sleeping daughter. Although she swung from his jaws and as he bounded back up to the ridge, she did not wake. He tucked her in the crooked elbow of a branch at the fallen pine tree, and she didn't stir, even when he settled himself around her, his chin on her small skull. She only purred in her sleep. Pax curled his brush over her. When she had rested, he would return her to bristle in the den. He would order her to stay, and he would be sterner. From now, he only had to keep her safe.